His letter was written to John Jay II from activist and minister Alexander Crummel. At the time it was written, Crummel had recently moved to the West African nation of Liberia. Crummel moved to Liberia that year on a mission to convert more Africans to the Episcopal Church, as he felt that a more, quote, enlightened population would enhance the quality of society there. When Crummel moved, Liberia was a colony that had been established only a couple of decades earlier by formerly enslaved African Americans with help from the American Colonization Society. The colony had been founded under the notion that persons of color would have the opportunities for freedom and prosperity in Liberia that they would never have in America because of the institution of slavery. While Crummel hated the entitlement of the American Colonization Society and its members, he agreed that America was not a place where African Americans could easily gain social equality. A lifelong proponent of the idea of Pan-Africanism, part of his mission there was to sow a sense of global unity among persons of African descent in America, Africa, and the rest of the world. In the letter, Crummel paints a very optimistic picture of Liberia's future. He talks of, quote, substantial brick buildings, well-arranged streets, and neat and commodious houses. Crummel was also greatly encouraged by the success of black business owners during his trip. He was so impressed that he thought Liberia would become very prosperous in the sugar trade, as well as, quote, the great coffee-growing country of the world. Alexander Crummel was born in New York City in 1819 to Mother Charity Hicks and Father Boston Crummel, who were both free people of color. Both were abolitionists, who used their home to publish the abolitionist newspaper, Freedom's Journal, the first ever African-American owned and operated newspaper in the United States. He was educated at the African Free School No. 2 and the Oneida Institute in central New York, which was an abolitionist epicenter. He then applied for admission into the Episcopal General Theological Seminary in New York, and despite being an excellent student and having all the necessary credentials, he was denied admission as the first student of color in the school's history. The school never admitted that he was denied because of his race, but the headmaster, Bishop Onderdonk, and several members of the admissions committee were open bigots who often made hateful comments about people of color. Crummel took the issue public with the help of John Jay II, who published a scathing public critique of the seminary's practices and tried to use his connections to get Crummel admitted, but he was unable to do so. Crummel was eventually ordained as a minister and went on to be the first ever black student to be recorded as graduated at Cambridge University in England. Crummel spent the remainder of his life working and preaching as a minister, doing his part to aid various abolitionist organizations, and always teaching the principles of Pan-Africanism.